Guys, I know exactly what you guys are going through. I'm an old soul, just basically more or less living my destiny. And you know, for the most part, most of you guys, the world around you looks so fucking big. The world looks so fucking big. And the world itself puts you into this fucking box. You gotta box your fucking way out of that shit, man. You gotta scream your fucking way out of that shit, man. You gotta fucking be so fucking convinced that you deserve success. You fucking will do anything to succeed. That the world wants the world at the top, understand that more people in the top 1% want you to succeed than people in the bottom 80%. People in the bottom 80%, they don't want you to fucking succeed, because that means that you're better than them. In classic American society, success is going to box you into the bottom 80%. Then you got the bottom 10%. And then it's really more or less kind of like if you have the option to choose, it's kind of more or less like a 50-50 shot if you wind up in the bottom 10% or in the top 10% if you decide to pursue success. But more or less, you have to realize that basically society at large does not want you to succeed. It's actually the people at the top that really want you to win, because we realize that the journey is fucking amazing. The journey is fucking amazing. And so, is it's not the success itself. It's not the money or the body. It's all the things that go along with it. It's the job. For the money, to get the money, it's the job. It's being your own boss. It's being basically it is basically the journey itself on your way to the top, and all of the uncertainties and all of the struggles, to earn the right to be that fucking successful. It's a great feeling. It's a wonderful feeling to earn the privilege of being that fucking successful. Is basically I'm a great person. And I hardly ever in my life ever fucked anybody over ever in my life. But the misconception is that I've done a bunch of bad shit because of the nature of what I used to do. I used to sell dope. So people think I've done like a bunch of bad shit, but really I've only fucked over maybe like 7 entire people ever in my life. And like the little people, they fuck each other over every single day by their judgments and their opinions, and they're always trying to box people in. The little guy's always trying to box people in. I'm always trying to bring everyone up. But the little guy's always trying to look at other people and see what they've got, what someone else doesn't have. You know, what I'm saying? Like, the little guy's always trying to put other people into categories and to say what the other person doesn't got that they have. You know, if you decide that you want to fall into the top, 5% of people, basically you can't take failure for an answer. Failure is never the answer, but you realize it's an energetic kind of thing. Like, I see it as like fucking energy. It's like energetic barriers that are metaphysically holding you down. It's like almost like the weight of gravity on your fucking head that doesn't want you to get ahead. Luckily for you, the human condition is that we make progress forward. We're always making progress forward. Every little thing that we do, we're always making progress, is always progress forward. Because it's true. Like, it's kind of hard to get stuck if you're always learning new things. It's the way God designed us to be. Is we're never going to go back to... We're never going to, like, slide back by much. We can make miscalculations and errors in our judgment, but we can't slide back by, like, very much. Unless we can blow ourselves up completely. The human condition is we're always moving forward. It's all about how fast do you want to move forward, man. I keep my foot on the pedal like 80% constantly. Like 81%. All the time. I keep my foot on the pedal like 81% all the fucking time. As to not basically burn out my adrenal system and my endocrine system, is like, in the morning, you're supposed to drink like 2 cups of coffee or like 1 cup of coffee in the morning. By the time you've had your 6th coffee in the day, the coffee stops having an effect, is your body gets used to it. But in chasing success, is different because in success is different because I don't know. Is like, and you could say like, oh, I'm going to put my pedal to the floor. You're going to put your pedal to the floor, right? You're going to try to go at 90% so that you could be better than me, right? Because you want to be the fucking best, right? Well, that's like saying that you're going to redecide your life at the age of 30 to be better than someone who's been doing this for 27 years. And it's like, really? Well, no, because that's not the way it goes. There's also like a lot of factors that play into how much success you can really get. I pretty much was 100% at it since the age of like 12 years old, and then made all the sacrifices, made all the commitments, and now like to make like a steady amount of progress. I guess that's all I really want or need. But you still, you got to realize that in success, God is good. That I've built like a few $billion empire based on basically you find that a lot of the people that work the hardest get like shit results, and it really is all about sacrifice. Compromise. The type of person you are means the kind of karma you get, and increasing your like hourly rate of value. So for me, being someone who's mastered the pregame of success, you could do that in like 15 years. You could master, like, that's what I recommend you do basically, is rather than trying to jump in. Well, what I did was I jumped into the pregame of business, and my pregame consisted of like me deciding that I'm going to be an entrepreneur and like in field work for like maybe like 4 years, and then I retired. I went on disability, basically. That's where my journey took me. Is I went on disability, and I went on disability basically, and spent a good like 8 or 9 years just like studying business nonstop, like 15, 16 hours a day, pretty much from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed, just studying business for like 8 years. So with sort of like a reference point of what it's like to work in the field in business, and then to master like all the shit you need to know before you really start in business, like it's and at the age of 30, having mastered the pregame of business, that's basically was the reference point that I come from, was about 4 years of work, maybe like 4 to 5 years, maybe like 6 years of solid like work and study, like studying how business works and stuff like that. I took a couple business classes, and then some actual like work in the field of what I currently basically do, to give myself like an idea of what I wanted to do to become, the person I am today, with kind of like the type of business that I have today is like is sort of like it seems like it happened very quickly and very easily, which it did, but it didn't fucking happen overnight, and it took everything from me. I'm 30 and I've basically not focused on anything but money for like 15, more than half my life has been focused on nothing but money. Side note, the journey was awesome. The journey is still awesome because I'm still making it. I think until the day I die, I'm still going to be making it. There's always like going to be like a notion in the back of my mind of like, there's always like going to be like a notion in the back of my mind of like, oh, well, what happens when I die? Am I going to be like up there in heaven, like managing my company still and making sure that the right people get their hands on my business and stuff, like that my family doesn't fuck around and that my family keeps the business for all eons and eternity of the history of planet Earth until the Earth dies and regenerates and reincarnates. And then I think like you have also like the age of your soul, which gives you the opportunity to really focus on stuff like that, gives you the opportunity to like really focus on stuff like that, like, bro, like I want to be so fucking rich that there's no debate of like, because I understand something that when my life is in review, when I die, I'm going to fucking heaven. Because I'm a good person, I do good business, I've always been a good person and done good business. Part of my heaven is settling the score in fucking hell, and I'm not going to be the one burning in fucking hell. I've never really fucked anybody over ever in my fucking life. And when I go to hell, I will be settling the fucking score, not the one suffering. So, the proof is in the pudding, guys. I mean, me personally, I'll be fucking rich, and I'm truthfully willing to do whatever it takes to be what I want to be. The age of your soul plays a very important factor in whether if you get shit or not. As in eternity, riches is like practically guaranteed, or close enough to guaranteed. And then, I have a great backstory, which is one thing I've always wanted. I've always wanted like a great backstory of like all the shit that I go through and all the people that I have to deal with that assume this or assume that. Like, a big part about success is like the proof is in the pudding, when the truth comes out that some of the shit that people think that I did, like people think I picked on a handicapped kid, which wasn't true, is not true. Is not true. Is that motherfucker was my friend. That's why I could do shit like that. Is because it was all love there. I wasn't picking on anybody. It was because we're fucking friends. That's why I could do shit like that. And anyone who thinks otherwise is like, I will see you in fucking hell. I don't have time for you. I don't have time for that shit. When the truth comes out, when we die and go where we're fucking going when we die, when the truth comes out, it will fucking come out. And, like, if you have a problem with me, I think that's your fucking problem. Because the people that I do have a problem with, that's between me and them, And I promise you, I don't need anybody to intervene between me and my fucking drama. Because I never picked on a handicapped kid. I never really picked on someone that was smaller than me. Well, maybe like by coincidence, but... And, yeah, I mean... So, basically... Yeah, And, pretty much, And yeah, to me is like, I always felt like, you know, you have to succeed in spite of the people that hope that you fail. You know, is like you realize that no one wants you to succeed, even not even your mom, because your mom has probably made mistakes with you, and then all the people that wish you fail, that hope that you never get rich and famous so that you could talk about it, you know, is like, I want the world to know the truth about my fucking life. And that's basically that my mom abandoned me when I was 3 months old. I was, you know, I was never abused, you know. Also, I want people to, well, it's like, I have like a few like dirty details about my life. Like, I didn't have my biological father growing up. He practically, like, more or less, like, seemed like he didn't care that much, you know. He was always like in and out of prison and stuff, and he didn't really care that much. But I always had God, you know. And I want people to also know that I didn't have it that fucking bad. It's just early on in my adulthood, you know, I made a lot of mistakes, you know, but I never counted myself out. And I only ever really fucked over like maybe 6 or 7 people ever in my fucking life. People, they fuck each other over every single fucking day by their little fucking judgments and their little fucking opinions. I learned when I was like 18, 19 years old not to judge people, because you don't know what's going on in that motherfucker's head, you know? And yeah, I mean, is like you know, I don't have to answer to anybody for anything that I ever did, because whatever I ever fucking did do, I could pay back in money. You know, it's like I never really did nothing that fucking bad either. Like, half the shit that I feel bad for, like, if I actually ever did something wrong, half the shit that I ever feel bad for is like shit that I didn't really even really do anything wrong. You know, like, fucking, yeah, I mean, I deserve success. I want success, and I'll get success, but I guess the point is a big part about success is, success has its way of finding the right people, and especially at the right time. You know, so if you're a decent human being, you know, don't count yourself out. You know, bad things don't happen to good people. Good things actually usually happen to good people. We all believe in karma, but you need to actually like dig deep and search inside the science of karma to figure out how to manipulate the law to get what you want. You know, I get a lot of shit that I want based on the fact of being a decent human being. I don't think it's in our nature always to be a decent human being, because we look around and we see what everyone's doing wrong. Especially being a successful person like me, is like, you look around at what everyone's doing wrong, and it's easy to start calling people losers and stuff. But then you basically realize that, you know, life is made up of choices. You know, by the time you get the chance to spend your spiritual, energetic, like, karma capital on the ends that you desire, you know, it's like it all depends on the person that you were prior to that point. Bro, I forget what this video was originally about, but just a success talk for the ages, you know. There's no need to try to optimize by like experimenting with vitamins and like psychotropic drugs and like go see a psychiatrist to try to get like some steroids for your brain. I talked about that before, how like a lot of these drugs that you can get from the doctor are really like steroids for your brain, but there's not a pill that's going to make you rich, you know. Is like really success is and has always been, is always will be between you and God. Is money is a God thing. It's not something that you could just go out by yourself and achieve money. It's between you and God, you know. But we have a loving God. We have a God that no matter how much I fuck up in my life with my relationship with God, you know, he doesn't like burn me, you know. I've never been like set ablaze or like punished for being like, for like complaining about the negativity in my life, you know. But I'm not a bad person. I wouldn't like, you know, like to say like, oh, that God is a piece of shit, he blah blah blah, he like ruined my life, blah blah blah. Is like, but I think it's normal that when bad things happen in our life, we kind of like tend to look at the sky and say like, God, like, what the fuck is this shit, you know. I've done that actually a lot lately, is look up at the sky and say like, God, you know, what the fuck, you know. But nothing has ever happened in my life without like a rhyme or a reason. Either like I've done like a prerequisite to have something bad happen in my life, or I've done something later down the line that justifies it. One thing is being open and honest about and fair. If someone ever fucks you over, don't just resort to the worst possible fucking thing you could do to them. You gotta be fair. You know, there's a reason why people that even that I've fucked over in the past, they don't succeed in their fucking life. They don't succeed more than me because, quite frankly, they're wrong. You know, they're bad. Like, a lot of them are just like fucking bad people, and I'm lucky at that, that a couple of the people that I fucked over in the past, I don't have to answer to them, and they don't have to be like better than me, because to be better than me is like, what's the fucking chances of that? Number one. And number two, the couple people that I did like kind of like accidentally like fuck over is like, it's not anything that can't be paid for with a little bit of money, you know. There's like a few people that I like accidentally sort of like fucked over, or was like not guilty by the reason of insanity. One time I was addicted to drugs and I tried robbing my best friend with brass knuckles. And you know, that wasn't right, but that's kind of like an NGRI, not guilty by reason of insanity. When you're addicted to drugs, you'll do fucking anything to get drugs, and it's proven time and time again that when drugs are involved, you got family that fucks over family, and people that even like really believe in family values. Like my cousin like stole $100 from me when he was addicted to drugs and heroin and shit. So you have to be able to be honest about like every aspect of your life, you know.
Like, you have to be able to sit down and be honest about where you're currently at with your life and basically demand of yourself that things change. Because when I was going to college, when I was in my first semester, when I was closing out my first semester in college, I thought, like, what the fuck am I doing here? You know, this is not what I want for myself in my life. I wanted to be like a scientist. You know, I wanted to be a biomedical engineer. And then I found out there's no jobs. So then I went to school for mechanical engineering. And and I could like see down the line like sort of like where my life was going. Like I did not want to be like sitting behind a desk for fucking 9 hours a day for a living, like doing monotonous bullshit. So in my second semester in college, I waited till I got that fucking cash money. You know, it was like $1,400 or whatever from whatever grant I got. Um, and you know, got could have gotten approved for like scholarships and shit too, but I just didn't go that route. I was getting the Pell Grant because I was basically poor at the time, you know, and but I got approved for the Pell Grant, and you know, I dropped out in my second semester. I felt like such an urgent need to quickly move on with my life that I don't know what it was, but somehow my inner biology knew, my inner like psychology, my sub psychology knew that my grandmother was going to die. That I was going to get kicked out of the house because I was moving so fast, and like I had to like answer to the call of nature of like I had like places to go, and it's almost like the last like 3 to 4 months that I had before I got kicked out of the house was like a party, is like a celebratory like occasion where I was just getting shit faced every single night. You know, I was getting like shit faced every single night, trying to basically, is almost like in hindsight it looks like God gave me that to realize like what my life almost could be if I like stay the course, and is like now I pretty much realize like what direction I want to go with my life is I want complete freedom. You know, I want complete freedom, you know, to minimize the amount of time that I actually have to spend working. Or, like, yeah, I don't have much of an option because I have a child. And, you know, I don't have much of an option because I brought a child into this world with the promise that I was going to take care of my child all their life. I haven't really been able to be there for the first 10 years of their life, but you know, but it's always like with the promise that one day I'm gonna take care of that motherfucker for like all their life. They're gonna be with me for their life. And that's what I want so fucking bad. I don't want to like ditch my kid when they're 18. I don't want to like ditch my kid when they're 18 and leave them like to bear the elements of life. You know, but right now I get disability, and I'm using disability as like a platform to study and to grow my business and to gain the expertise that I need. And it all seems like pretty reasonable that anyways, you know, is like you look at some of the star pupils of like Money Society or any like great like sector of society, and they have like great academic backgrounds, great this, great that. I'm like the trill kid. You know, I feel like I'm like the trill kid. I'm like the fucking. I'm the one where basically I made a few mistakes in the past. But you know, basically all the bad shit I ever did.
Like NGRI or like not guilty, you know, because NGRI or not guilty, you know, on the surface it looks one way, but really it's completely not my fucking fault, really. I can't think of the last time I like fucked somebody over knowingly. That I learned that lesson when I was like 12 years old, that you shouldn't like fuck people over and stuff. I've only ever really like fucked somebody over like less than 5 times ever in my life. Like about 5 times. I can count on, by the time I die, I could probably count on all my fingers and toes how many people that I've fucked over, like decent people, you know. I truly think that, like, I never fucked anybody over in my life that didn't have it coming. And then you have to step on a few fingers to realize that that's not the way to be. Because that shit follows you around for the rest of your fucking life. The one person that I fucked over is actually dead right now. The rest of the shit that I've ever... And his name's Jacob. Jacob Hubbard. Is, the one person that I ever, like, truthfully, like, fucked over in my life. The rest of that shit can be explained away by insanity. Or, like, inhumanity. You know? But seriously though, like, oh, the inhumanity, you know, like, oh, I almost like hooked up with my buddy's ex-girlfriend. I actually did hook up with one of my buddies, like the girl that he was dating like a couple months before. I wound up fucking the girl. And like, you know, like, is there a such thing as like a fucking power trip or like an ego trip? Because, you know, like, I've even done a little bit of that, you know, just to realize that maybe I'm not as in control as I really think, you know. I mean, think about it for 2 seconds and realize, like, that's not who I want to fucking be, you know. I've been through all that shit just to realize, like, that's not who I want to fucking be. I don't want to be a bad person that, like, fucks people over, because I've seen the shit end of those fucking types of decisions. But I just have to be reminded just to drill that in. And sometimes that shit makes you lose friends, you know. Is like this one thing that happened recently. Was like this girl that I used to date got married, okay, and had kids, but she's like apparently is like cheating on her husband and shit. I figure, like, if she's gonna cheat, it may as well be with me too, right? Is like, I want to fucking hit that again, you know. But it's like, that's not right, you know. That's not the way to be. That's not the way to go about it, you know. Because if like, you got to think like, how would, like, all that shit is fucking bullshit. Because when you get married, just like when you start a business, when you get married, you're supposed to leave that your past life behind you. I don't care what kind of fucking boyfriends you had in the fucking past, that you leave that shit behind you. It's like, you always have to think like, what would I feel like? Not like, how would that make me feel, but what? That's fucking bullshit. Like, cheating on your husband or wife is fucking bullshit unless it's agreed upon. Is like, but marriage also is not like a build-a-bitch workshop of like, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Is like, that's what I want my marriage to be. I want to be able to do whatever the fuck I want, and she does whatever the fuck I want her to do, basically. And like, we don't live in like the fucking Wild West anymore. I can't go like kill someone's whole family for like fucking my bitch, you know, like how I would want to. I have to kind of say like, oh, you know, I'll see you in hell, you know, or like fight them, or like, you know, you can't like kill them. You just want them off the face of the fucking earth, right? But I'd probably like do something about it, but you can't like, if you like, what I would probably do is like take a baseball bat to them or something, you know, even if I'm pretty confident I'm like in the top like 5% of fighters in the world, but maybe like top 10%, top 5%. I don't know. I'm humble, you know, I'll take top 10%. But, you know, yeah, like, you can't, like, is like, I don't know, it's like, my frame of reality is, like, fucking broken, you know. Every relationship I've ever been in, I've been cheated on, so is like, I thought it was supposed to be the man that's supposed to be doing all the fucking cheating. Actually, it's the woman that's always fucking cheating and shit. It's bullshit. So like, whatever I've put people through in my life, I've like been through it like times like 5, you know, like times 3. You know, or more, you know, at the hands of people who didn't deserve to do that to me, like douchebags and shit. Is like, it's fucking bullshit, you know, it's fucking bullshit. In life, it's better to set your expectations low and then hit the stars, rather than set your expectations high and wind up disappointing yourself. A great way to fail in life. Well, I succeeded in life. Let me tell you what I did. Is I stayed humble with it. You know, I said like, oh, if I could make like $100 million throughout the course of my entire life, in like 25 years, if I make $100 million, that would make me like perfectly satisfied. Now, 10 years later, I have a $400 million net worth. So I met my 25-year goal in like less than 10 years. And then it's like this big snowball that is like the size of like fucking Frosty the Snowman, like snowballing down the fucking Mount Everest. Is like the literal like fucking Frosty the Snowman. If I am like the Frosty the fucking Snowman of like snowballs of people. I'm like luckier than Mark Cuban, like bigger and better and faster and stronger than Elon Musk, like more innovative and like impactful than Jeff Bezos. Bill Gates, huh? Bill Gates, huh? Let's think about Bill Gates for a second. Bill Gates did Microsoft. I don't think I'll build like not one, perhaps maybe I'll get lucky, but you know, I don't think I'm gonna build any one like single software that sells $100 billion fucking dollars, you know. Probably not, you know, but is like so yeah, is like I'll probably never build like one single software that does like, you know, 100 fucking billion, you know, but you know, probably do like many like tools and softwares that are like best in class, you know. It's like my goal with everything that I do is to create a best in class, something best in class for whatever category I'm building in, you know. And also to almost like create a new class of basically, you know, to create like new class, almost like to find the gaps in the marketplace in between like shit that people don't really think about, you know. So typically, you know, if you're not going to give something your, you know, if you're going to give, well, let me put it to you this way. If you're going to give something your 100%, you could be the best at it. You know, other than that, in order to succeed requires a lot of pain and like sacrifice and like bullshit going on everywhere else in your life. Like if you're trying to make a lot of money, you know, you're free to choose what avenue of like sacrifice you choose to make a shitload of money. But the pain has to come from somewhere. You know, the pain has to come from somewhere. And for me, it's like my kids and my heaven when I die is the only two things I refuse to sacrifice. You know, I could give a shit about anything else. And other than that, it's all business, you know. Is like that's literally all I care about. I would give up anything else in order to achieve that. So